It's another episode of Naija Football Talk, and this time around we are not going to be bantering Kolade because of Arsenal's poor performance, but we are going to be doing that very soon, so stick around for that. But thank you so much once again for joining us on another episode of Naija Football Talk, and we'll be looking at the international break this time around. It has been quite an up and down period for international football. There was quite a lot of comedy that happened in CONMEBOL and AFCON qualifiers. We're going to be looking at that a bit, and we're also going to be looking at an interesting angle on which you're going to find out when we come back from this short break. In case you don't already know, my name is Chima, and welcome to Naija Football Talk.
Looking for the best websites for your next game day stake? Topbets.com.ng has the juice on all of Nigeria's best gaming websites from Nigeria's biggest gaming companies. Compare the odds and markets and make the best choice for you before you make your next stake. Check out game day reviews, previews, top tips, and predictions to help you make the best choice.
Thank you once again for staying with us on Naija Football Talk. My name is Chima, and as usual, I have Kolade and Bolu with me on set today. Like I said at the beginning of the show, it's an episode where we're not going to be dragging Kolade.
Are you not tired of mentioning my name? Guy.
Finally, a weekend where you don't lose.
A weekend where he doesn't have to deal with Arsenal's ineptitude, and at least he has something to celebrate because Nigeria, the W for all of us, it's a collective W. Nigeria finally got off to a great start in their World Cup qualifiers as they beat Liberia by 2-0. Let's quickly talk about that match before we move straight into our main gist for today. So what are your takeaways from that game, Bolu?
Wow. First of all, you can't talk about that game without talking about the conditions. The weather.
Bolu was actually in the stadium.
Yeah. So he saw it live and he experienced it. So let's hear it from him.
We can't talk about that game without talking about the weather conditions. There had been rain in Lagos for about 2 days, at least 2 days prior to the game. So the pitch was sodden. It was a heavy pitch, and but the players gave a good account of themselves. They were mature enough, they were experienced enough to get away with the points. Senior man with his ingenuity, we know how much of an unorthodox player he is. That style got him the win for us because he got 2 brilliant goals, well taken goals, 2 assists from Iwobi as well. So so far so good. It's good, and we are facing Cape Verde next, and
another sure W for us, and something for Kolade to celebrate.
It's an away game, so fingers crossed we can at least a point. That would be good for us.
Yeah, at least a point, but I'm expecting nothing less than the whole 3, and hopefully we turn up properly. And I'm happy also that Alex Iwobi is showing people that he still has a little bit of the quality that he used to have when he was much younger in Arsenal, and hopefully he can help lead Nigeria to a greater height.
He's actually a much different player when he plays for Nigeria.
He's actually a much different player when he plays with us. And let's hope that Benitez sees that and uses his quality to the max at Everton. There's another player that we're going to be looking at for a short bit, Cristiano Ronaldo. I mean, there is really nothing to be said about this man that hasn't already been said. He's a phenomenon. Even I, as a Barcelona fan and a staunch Messi supporter, I actually know that this guy is a legit.
How won't you know? I mean, that's
no. I'm just being objective here. A lot of our fans still, like to deny the fact that this guy is actually a solid player, but you can't keep denying that fact.
It was just irritating to see Ronaldo put a blank up until how many minutes
he gets. He's a very inevitable player, and like you said, it's also irritating because but there's
imagine him and Bruno doing this all season.
All season. So all season.
Don't worry, Bruno won't have penalties to play. Don't worry.
The Premier League is really in for it, and let us hope that we can see. Let us hope those of us who are on the other side of things, you can see a stop being put to Ronaldo's madness this season. Okay, let us also look at Romelu Lukaku, who scored 50 in 50 for Belgium. That's an amazing start, no matter how you want to look at it. 50 in 50 it's almost unheard of in modern day football. So what do you think about it? There's also an argument going around, even though Lukaku has squashed it.
It's not an argument. Lukaku and Cristiano Ronaldo, they are not they are not in the same bracket at all. You know, there are only 3 players: Ronaldo, Messi, and others.
Yep.
So you can't compare Lukaku with Ronaldo. It is an insult
I say
to.
Lukaku is part of the top of the others.
Yeah, but it's not.
But
It's not on the
it's
same
not
level
the
with
same
Ronaldo.
level,
But yeah,
yeah.
for about Lukaku, I think his story is one that like shows a whole lot of hard work. How this guy has improved his game over the years, especially for someone that was ridiculed in his early stages at England and
At Manchester United.
at Manchester United. Well, yeah. So I mean, I just like Lukaku's story, how he improved himself, reinvented himself, and he led Inter to their first Scudetto in over a decade, and now he's improving on himself. So it's good to see, and I think he will lead Belgium in their golden generation in next years to come.
Yeah, speaking of Belgium's golden generation, a lot of them are quite quickly fading out. But
Well.
let's see what the future holds, and let's hope that something is going to come out of it. All right, moving straight into the discussion today on Naija Football Talk, we are going to be focusing on a topic that came up during the week as we're discussing, as we're coming up with concepts for this week's episode. Some of us were thinking about the Continental Cup competitions, and we're also thinking about the World Cups. Seeing as we're currently in the international break and everybody's playing qualifiers to see who's going to play in Qatar 2022, and then we look back at Euros. We look back at the Copa America. We saw how difficult it was for the big teams to be able to scale through, and then we looked at the World Cup and saw that it looked a bit easier. So some of us were on one side while some of us were on another side. But that's what we're going to be discussing today on Naija Football Talk, to see if we can come to a conclusion, and if you could also help us come to a conclusion with your comments on the video. Special thanks to our sponsors stopbets.com.ng for helping us do another episode of this today, live from Lagos, Nigeria. So first off, let's start with a cool icebreaker. So for the both of you, what international tournament in recent memory was your favorite? Bolu?
I enjoyed the 2010 World Cup to an extent because it was still in Africa.
An
And
African
the quality
World
of football didn't quite live up to that. So my personal favorite, I think, was the 2014 World Cup. There was so much
Madness.
flair about madness about it. And
The whole Brazilian flair.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that was a very enjoyable tournament as well. And then, yeah, I think 2018 World Cup too was good.
What about you?
Yeah, for me, I'm going to come a bit home here. I think the 2013 AFCON, where
Same, man.
where
Same,
Nigeria
same.
won, Umba stole all the headlines, and
We all enjoyed that.
we all enjoyed that. It was very brilliant to see Nigeria win like a proper major tournament.
Yes.
It was beautiful.
It was beautiful to watch.
See.
That's also my favorite tournament of recent history. And there was a lot of standout performances. That's where the world got introduced to Bansi from Burkina Faso before he started making serious headlines and doing madness in other AFCONs, and we saw how it turned out and all of that. So now, Bolu, looking at how international football is developing and everything, do you think it also, especially for continental competitions, do you think it also has a part to play in the development of players?
Yeah, it does, because if you look at international tournaments don't come around every year, but if you look at a player's career over time, you see what they've done at their clubs, their club express, but then you also want to look at what they did at international tournaments during the summer, and you want to use that to gauge how great a player really is over time. I mean, over their career, you want to see how good they were, not just against in their club. You want to see how they do against other players from other countries, world-class players, how they can actually stand up to be counted. So yeah, it definitely does play a role in the development of players.
Yeah, I agree, because if you play for a minnow country, like for example, let's say a smaller African country, and you just are one of the lucky ones to be playing in the big leagues like the Premier League or La Liga, if you face other players who are probably world class from other countries, and then other continents.
Yeah, that's why African clubs, they're always happy to play the FIFA Club World Cup.
Yeah, because they always bring their A game to it, and I think the highest level we've ever gotten in Africa in the FIFA Club World Cup is the semi-finals.
Yes, the semi-finals.
If I'm not mistaken, and let's hope that one of these days an African club is going to win the FIFA World Cup, Club World Cup. All right, so looking at the Euros that just happened, comparing it to smaller continental competitions like
Don't disrespect AFCON.
I'm not
don't
disrespecting AFCON, but the truth is that the Euros is still the biggest around. So comparing it to all of this, what exactly stands out the Euros? Because if you look at the quality of competition in these other small ones, I mean, AFCON is mad. We also saw the Copa America. It was brutal, but yet the Euro still remains, the bigger one, the one with the most glamour, the one with the most
best organized one.
So what stand? Is it just organization or star quality, or what do you think?
I think it's a bit of factors altogether, but first of all, it's organization. You can see how detailed the Euros are in all of their schedules, and I think a very big fact that makes Euros stand out is their schedule. When you look at AFCON takes place in January when the football season is in play. So you look at the fact that many clubs are not even willing to release players. So look at Liverpool losing Mane and Salah in the same window, and Keita and other players. So it's always a big issue for them. But the Euros, everybody, we are all in a season where we are looking forward to more football. So it's like everyone followed these Euros because there was no football at the time. AFCON will come when the season is in full swing, and not everybody would pick up with it. But aside from that, I think it's the opposition, the quality on display. When you look at Euros, you can't exactly just pick one
I mean,
country.
This concluded.
If
we had Germany, Portugal, and France in the same group.
If we're talking of quality, you say England should have won, but we saw what happened. It didn't go as planned. Even England had some games where it looked like they were not going to win, like against Denmark, for instance. But when you look at AFCON, when you just point at the teams and you look at a team like Nigeria and Egypt, they are probably the two heavyweights and maybe a Ghana. So the opposition, the quality, the gulf in quality is just too much between the stars.
The gulf in quality is a lot, but you can also see that in competitions like this, the smaller teams tend to be very scary to play against. Because let's take the last one for example. South Africa literally ran Egypt to the ground. You get Salah looked like an amateur, like somebody who was just coming from the Sunday League football, somebody who was tearing it up in the Premier League too. Just that season, if I'm not mistaken, I think he was top 3 or 4 for the Ballon d'Or, top 5 rather for the Ballon d'Or.
Yeah, but when you look at the competition like Euros, you saw France, they blew a 3-1 lead. Yeah. If Nigeria were leading, it happened to us though. It happened to us. We're leading 3 against Sierra Leone though. So I don't want to say that, but I feel like if in a major competition like that, if an Egypt is leading maybe a lesser ranked side in that stage of the game, I don't think they will be able to pull back.
So, Bolu, looking at the smaller competitions, obviously not AFCON because AFCON is a much more established competition. We're looking at the CONCACAF Gold Cup and the Asian Cup, the Oceania Cup, all of those smaller continental tournaments. Do you think the quality of their own opposition affects them in the global stage?
It depends because it depends on what you have really. Because if you have world-class players in your squad, you would probably beat whoever is in your continent and go to the world stage.
Exactly.
For example, a country like South Korea, who have Heung-min Son, and a couple of other decent players. In their own continental tournaments, they probably win all the time. They beat the likes of
Oman, Japan, Iran, all that.
They beat them, but then when they come to the World Series, South Korea beat Germany in the last defending champions Germany at the last World Cup. So you can't really say. It just depends on what you have internally.
Do you think that maybe an increased frequency of these types of competitions, especially for these smaller ones, could help them in any way?
I wouldn't like to see more frequent international.
I wouldn't either
because that means that does means more.
But we're talking about player development. So
I don't think that's particularly a good thing because they already have club football they play every year where they develop already. So you don't need to play. You don't need to be playing the likes of Panama every two summers. Gauge. I think that's what makes international tournaments special. The fact that they don't come around often. At least 2 years, most 4 years. That's what makes it special. The fact that it's more like a festival where they come together and see who has improved in the last 4 years. Not just every year when we saw him last year.
Truly.
And that's what they've done in Copa America too, unfortunately.
Looking for the best websites for your next game day stake? Topbets.com.ng has the juice on all of Nigeria's best gaming websites from Nigeria's biggest gaming companies. Compare the odds and markets and make the best choice for you before you make your next stake. Check out game day reviews, previews, top tips, and predictions to help you make the best choice.
Thank you for sticking with us so far. I'm sure you've been enjoying our conversation on international competitions. Now we want to look at the whole thing that brought this to light, the whole reason why we're discussing this on today's episode of Naija Football Talk. Continental competitions versus World Cup. Which one is easier to win? Some people say World Cup, some people say continental competition. So we're just going to go straight into it right off the bat. And first of all, thank you so much to our sponsors, stopbets.com.ng, for helping us keep this video on your screens, and thank you so much for subscribing. They help us get to 2K subscribers. We're going to really appreciate that if you do that. Straight off the bat, guys, which one is easier to win? Is the continental competition easier, or are the World Cups easier? Colady, let's start with you.
That's a difficult question. It depends on how you look at it. If you want to look at it as a marathon or a sprint, if you're an athlete, if you ask different athletes which is easier to win, a marathon or a sprint, they will give you different opinions. And why I'm saying this is because for someone who is from Europe, if you're an European and you ask him which is easier, the Euros is probably very difficult to win. When you look at the opposition, we mentioned the fact that France, Germany and Portugal were in the same team. You have teams like Denmark, you have teams like Turkey, you have teams like Netherlands that can still cause problems. So we are looking at about 12 good teams that have a realistic chance of winning the Euros. When you look at a World Cup, these countries we just mentioned, they will never be put in the same group because of pairings. So you have France play maybe someone from Africa and someone from South America, meaning a team like France already have 1 foot in the round of 16. So which looks like a sprint. It seems like they already have a certain boost. But when you look at the Euros, they don't have that. Everybody's more or less almost. So
in summary, you are saying using the Euros as a benchmark now that the World Cup is a lot easier to win.
I think.
Do you think it's the same for the AFCON?
For the AFCON, I think before every AFCON tournament, we always know that it's between 3, 4, maximum 5 countries. Right? You mentioned Egypt, you mentioned Nigeria, you mentioned Ghana, you mentioned
Senegal and Cote d'Ivoire,
and then probably Algeria as well.
Yeah.
You know,
they are the defending champions. Correct?
Yeah, you already know who you are going to prepare for. You already know that when you get to the later stages, you have to meet
one of these guys,
either or all those teams to actually get the trophy at the end. So I think in that sense, it's easier to win the AFCON. But when you get to the World Cup, for an African country, when you get to the World Cup, you have to have a South American country in your group, probably an Asian country and one European country as well. And that's where it gets complicated because you don't even know if you're going to get out of the group or not, depending on who you are grouped with. And even if you get outside your group, you're going to meet different kinds of football styles that you're not probably prepared for. You can meet the Mexico in round of 16, and then the next team you meet is Japan. Or after that you meet Argentina, you meet Brazil. You know, you are never prepared for the levels of opposition.
Yeah.
So I think it's more difficult for an African country. It's easier to win the AFCON than.
So that means, putting it into perspective, it is just basically a lot easier for the European countries to win the World Cup than it is for them to win the Euro Championship. And then for African countries, it is easier for us to win the AFCON than it is to win the World Cup. Is that what the both of you are saying?
Pretty much, in my opinion.
Okay. Well, what do you think now that an African country can do to win the World Cup, since it's a lot more difficult for us?
To win the World Cup, first of all, an African country, it is going to be extremely difficult. Well, what I've seen about African countries over the years,
I predict that Nigeria is going to win one before 2030.
Eventually, yeah, I have to see one in my lifetime.
well, the problem with African countries, when you look at this great teams in quote, when you look at France 98, you notice that they are a team of superstars. When you look at Belgium, they are a team of superstars. But when you look at African countries, it's mostly 1 or 2 players carrying the team. Senegal have Mane, Egypt have Salah. Nigeria are the only ones trying. Maybe we have like 5 to 6. So I think for an African country to win the World Cup or to try, they need a group of superstars. The closest we had was Cote d'Ivoire's golden generation, but they couldn't even do it on the African stage. So I don't know when next we might see. But right now, the closest bet we have, at winning the World Cup is Nigeria.
It's Nigeria. What do you think an African country? Or do you also agree that Nigeria
if you look at World Cup winning teams, I don't think winning the World Cup is a year business. I think it's
something,
a process. It's a process. Probably an 8-year process most of the time. If you look at Spain, when Spain won with a golden generation in 2010, that was a combination of from 2006 thereabout. That was a combination of another 2006, not just building. They actually had those talents from years before that. So it's always a series of developments that ends in that World Cup win. When
Germany won
it as well, they've been building for years. When France won it as well, they had been at the Euros final before that, and they're developing that team for years. So I think it's not just developing it, it's developing a culture in the country. It's developing a culture of from grassroots. The children in academies are developing a particular style, and that always just goes from top down. If you look at most World Cup winning teams in the last few years, in the last how many years, it's always that same process, and you always have to see each World Cup winning team have to show their workings. You can't just stumble on winning. Literally, you cannot stumble on winning the World Cup. It has to be.
You have to show your workings.
I think that's why Argentina couldn't win it in 2014 because they didn't have that process. They just had stars.
They just had Messi and one or two other people that were just doing the work for them. All we can conclude right now from our discussion is that no matter how you put it, it's all a matter of perspective. It depends on what continental competition you're playing and the kind of the quality that you're playing in your continental competition that will give you the oomph, the opportunity. And like we said, like Bolu said, it is something about building up and preparing for a particular World Cup with your side. And that's our show for today. Thank you so much for hanging out with us on another episode of Naija Football Talk, another jiggy episode of Naija Football Talk. I hope you enjoyed our discussions on the international stage, on international football, and as we prepare for a cracker of club football that's coming up this weekend, we hope that you're going to continue sticking with us as we continue to provide you with beautiful content for your enjoyment. Special thanks to our fan of the week, Eniola Adeyemi. Thank you so much. We see the love you show us. We see the appreciation. We see the comments. We see the retweets. We see the likes. We're really grateful for your love. We hope you continue sharing our content, and who knows, maybe one of these days we might invite you to the show.